what would Labour do if they were in power? Jonathan Ashworth here with us now, Shadow Paymaster General. What would you do?
Well, this is a really serious situation. I mean, firearms policing is a really important part of our policing service. It's absolutely vital that they have support, but there's proper safeguards in place. Now, the Home Secretary has announced a review. We don't know the details of that, so we await the details. And of course, there is also this live prosecution, and I don't think, as a politician,
that talk about that.
No, absolutely, but I don't want to say anything which somehow could be misconstrued as again, trying to influence that. But it is crucial that our firearms policing services are supported, and that there are safeguards in place which both command the support of the officers themselves and the communities they serve.
How safe should people feel this morning tuning in and hearing that we might have to have soldiers on the streets because we don't have enough firearms officers?
Well, I understand from what the Commissioner and what government sources are saying that there are officers on the streets. They are responding to the types of things that they would respond to at the moment.
10% fewer than there should be.
But I don't think this is a moment for alarm. But we do have this review. It would be good, I suppose, if the government gave us more details of what is in that review. But we have had reassurances that that there are police officers responding in the way that they would usually need to.
Also asked the Minister this morning about HS2. She said, I don't know what you're talking about. That we haven't announced that we're going to scrap any part of HS2, especially not the northern bit.
Oh, it's a shambles, isn't it? It's an absolute shambles. I mean, I know nothing works after 13 years of the Conservatives. We now look like, after 13 years, you can't build a train line. It's going to go from Birmingham to somewhere in West London. I really think this needs clearing up. HS2 is a project which has had Labour support because it's about adding capacity to the network. That's good for passengers, it's good for freight, and crucially, it's about connectivity across the north. But we really need clarity because we don't know. We get briefings in newspapers suggesting one thing, then another thing. It's utter chaos.
But I do have rather fabulous researchers who tell me that your boss in October of 2015 said that he was objecting, and he had a petition to object. There it is. Handing over petitions against HS2 in Parliament today with my neighbouring MP, Tulip Siddiq, and Camden Labour. He objects to it, he said at that time, because it would be a blight on the area of Euston for many years.
Which is part of the constituency, and he was responding to concerns which were raised by his constituents at the time.
So is he in favour of HS2 or not?
But that was some that is some time ago now. That things have moved on. Things have.
How is it different now?
Because part of the line has been built to Birmingham, although the bit from Euston to West London hasn't been.
So he doesn't want that bit?
It hasn't been resolved. No, we would want HS2 to go ahead. But here's the crucial thing. We need to know what the financial situation is.
OK, but do you want HS2 to go... Just clarify that. Do you want HS2 to go to Euston?
Yeah.
So why was he objecting?
Because he was responding to concerns that were raised at the time about what it would look like in that part of London. But
has that been resolved?
Well, those issues, I think, have been resolved.
In what way?
Because the way in which the project would be pursued has been resolved with the way in local communities, I think, would be more content with it now.
Talk to me about inheritance tax. Inheritance tax.
Well, I mean...
4%, about 4% of people paid inheritance tax last year. Families paid inheritance tax last year. And the latest we're hearing is that potentially the Prime Minister and the Chancellor are looking at changing that in some way.
I just think it beggars belief. Right, we've had 25 Tory tax rises under the Conservatives. Everyone's struggling. We're paying more on their mortgage because of the disastrous decisions they took last year in their budget, £220 more on average. For a typical family is also paying around £400 more a month on top of the extra mortgage payments per month. £400 more per month for the petrol, for the shopping at the supermarket, for their energy bills. As I say, 25 Tory tax rises, and they're now saying that their priority is an inheritance tax cut for the top 4% of households.
I'm not saying it's a priority.
It's in the newspapers at the weekend.
Oh, it must be right then.
It's in the newspapers at the weekend. This is what they are suggesting they're going to do. And this is when they have clobbered hard-working families with 25 Tory tax rises.
So what would you
and their decisions led to mortgages going through the roof, and people are really struggling as a result.
What would you guys do about inheritance tax?
Well, look, we have already suggested that we need to take measures to bring energy bills down. We want to, we would always be absolutely prudent with the public finances, because the other part of this inheritance tax proposal is completely unfunded. And a year ago, we saw what happened when you make unfunded commitments, when you're cavalier with the public finances. It leads to mortgages going up for hard-working families. So we would never, ever make unfunded commitments. We would always be absolutely have an iron discipline when it comes to the public finances.
So would you always, under any circumstances, rule out tampering with inheritance tax in any way, shape?
No, I'm not the Shadow Chancellor, so I'm not going to make tax policy.
You're doing what the government does now. You're just saying it's not my department, but you're representing Labour this morning.
No, I'm representing Labour, but I'm not the Shadow Chancellor. And the Chancellors make tax decisions in budgets and autumn statements. I'm not going to make tax decisions on your programme, because I'm not the Shadow Chancellor, and that's not the way in which we make decisions with respect to taxation in this country.
But
what I can give you this commitment, but I can give you this commitment: a Labour government would never make unfunded spending commitments, would never be irresponsible and cavalier with the public finances, because that leads to mortgages going up for hard-working families. That leads to more interest being paid on business loans for small businesses. And that is what happened 12 months ago under the Conservatives, and people across the country and your viewers are still paying the price today. OK,
so if Rachel Reeves, because obviously you're a very close-knit cabinet, you know exactly what your colleagues are thinking at all times, if she said, I'm looking at this, I don't know whether to change it or not, and would you say 4% of people would benefit from this? Absolutely out of the question, Rachel.
Well, first of all, I do talk to Rachel. Rachel, all the time.
There you go.
I do talk to her all the time. She's a very good friend. I've known her for many, many, many years.
So what do you think? Do you play chess with her?
No, she'd beat me at chess. She'd beat me at chess.
She never mentioned she plays chess.
Well, maybe she wouldn't beat me at chess. I've never actually played chess with her. Well, maybe I should challenge her to a game. But she's very good at chess. Look, right, I would always say to Rachel, and she would agree with me, that we cannot be irresponsible with the public finances, because that leads to mortgages going up for hard-working families. And this is in the context of where families are already paying more in tax. I think the highest tax burden since the war, virtually, thanks to the 25 Tory tax rises that Rishi Sunak introduced.
Do you think you'd beat me at chess?
No, I wouldn't beat you at anything.
I think you would, because the last time I played it's when I was 11 with my granddad, so you probably would. It's great to see you as always. Just remind me what your new title is. We've had this conversation. Tell my viewers who weren't here the other day what your kids say about it.
This thing is boring. And sort of, what is that all about? No, I'm the Shadow Minister for coming on Breakfast with Kay Bailey.
There you go. I was waiting for you to say it. It's good to see you, Shadow Minister. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.